That's
Yes,
all right.
indeed. Live and local. And a time now for another Survive and Thrive with CH Insurance and our pal, Joe Convertino Jr. Joe, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Gomez and Lisa. How are you?
Good. It's ready for another day, another Wednesday, and another conversation with someone.
We're back. We're back. Now we're to 2 weeks now, but hope you had a good couple weeks. Hey, our guest today, guys, is Jason Leone, Division III basketball coach up in the SUNYAC division at Oswego State. Jason, welcome. Thanks for coming on this morning.
Hey, thanks for having me, Joe and Gomez and Lisa. This is a pleasure.
No, that's awesome. So Jason, we want to get right into it. Obviously, we see fall sports, SUNYAC, no sports. You're basketball winner, great coach. How has it changed, just from recruiting, staying in touch with kids? I know you're big on camps up there. Everything came to a halt. Tell us what a coach goes through. We've talked businesses, but how you survived and hopefully thrived for your, your institution up there and what you do in men's basketball.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of parallels with, for my sport, I coach basketball. There's a lot of parallels with game type action, right? You get certain things that happen during the game that sometimes can throw you for a loop, and you've got to maintain composure and find different ways to help your team and your program continue to be successful. So I think the players, anytime they look at any type of leadership position, they're looking for somebody that's going to stay composed. And, we had some things, everyone has had some things that have been thrown their way during the pandemic that has challenged their business or their teams. And I think it's been critical on my end just to be a good listener, stay even keeled, and that's the best way to get through these types of issues. And we are going to get through this. It's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead, Joe. I was going to follow up real quick.
What has the SUNYAC done to help the coaches prepare? Like we all have associations. You have a great conference in SUNYAC, probably a wonderful AD. How have they helped the coaches kind of move ahead through this pandemic?
First you mentioned our athletic director. I had a longtime friend and my former boss, Sue Viscomi, who retired in the middle of this. We had that go on. Her and I are very close, continue to be. And then our associate AD, Eric Summers, local from Fayetteville, he was just recently promoted, which was a great thing to maintain continuity. So Eric has done a phenomenal job of just hosting meetings. We've done a lot of Zoom meetings with our department, and as he gets knowledge, he conveys it to the coaches. And I think it's really that simple, Joe and Gomez and Lisa, is just that piece of communication and keeping people abreast of what's going on. And as we all know, this situation has been very fluid. It has changed good and bad from day to day. Our conference commissioner, Tom DiCamillo with the SUNYAC, has worked diligently both with the athletic directors and the school presidents, where they've had weekly meetings, monitored the situation, conversed with county and state health officials, and they've had to make some tough decisions. And although some of those decisions may be unpopular, again, at this point in time, we have to maintain composure and keep in mind and convey to our student athletes that we are going to get back in the gym, on the playing fields, on the ice. It's not a matter of, if, it's a matter of when.
We're talking to Jason Leone here on the Survive and Thrive with CH Insurance and Joe Convertino Jr. And it will continue, and you'll be able to watch this entire video a little bit later on the Facebook page. And continue we do.
There you go.
Hey,
Great.
Jason, it's obviously harder in college. We're watching all the pro leagues, the NBA getting their season started, Major League Baseball. But they have one governing body. It's a commissioner of the NFL and a baseball commissioner. College sports, it's individual conferences, states, athletic departments. What are those challenges? How does that make it harder for guys like you in your position?
Well, I think that's a great question, Gomez. I think one of the things that I would convey to folks is that there's health and safety is at the forefront of all the decision making that's gone on here. But the second thing is there is a financial piece to this whole thing. So when you deal with college athletics, especially at the Division III level where we don't offer scholarships based on athletics, there is a piece of enrollment. So athletics plays a big part of enrollment, towards enrollment of these colleges. And as we all know, enrollment is how these colleges, a big part of how they generate revenue. So, during this pandemic, it's become a challenge for all colleges to maintain their enrollment numbers. And where that goes with sports is, for one example, or for instance, is that, part of us getting back and playing is there's a mandate by the NCAA that we have to test these student athletes before games. And that costs money in order to test. And, I think this answers your question. It's very difficult, given all these different things, just the health and safety, plus there's a monetary part of this that's involved with getting our student athletes on the field. And when you have one governing body in the professional sports, as opposed to getting multiple people on the same page at the college level, that sometimes can present some challenges. But again, our league, and I can always speak intelligently on that, has done a phenomenal job of getting people on the same page.
Jason, it looks like it's going to be a possibility for all sports that you'll be playing without fans, without any spectators able to watch. I mean, it's got to have an effect, even if it's just mentally, on the athletes. How are you trying to cope with that? Or do you think your guys will just get their head in the game and won't even worry about it?
Well, I'll say sort of in jest, being a Division III coach, most of our games will have no problems with social distancing anyways. We play, especially as, and that's not to put down Division III. I was a Division III basketball player at the University of Rochester, but you go to a small college game in the middle of the winter on a Tuesday night in upstate New York at Colgate, Lemoyne, or SUNY Oswego. I don't think the social distancing there will be too much of an issue. But no, in answer to your question, Lisa, it's another thing that my battle cry with our players is always, even before the pandemic, is anytime, any place, you have to be ready to play and play the right way. And it's not as much about where we're playing or who we're playing or who's there watching. You still have to execute and play the game well in order to win in anything you do. So I feel bad for the people that really do follow our program closely. I feel bad for parents that might miss out on seeing their kids play. The one nice thing in this day and age that was much different than when I started coaching 23 years ago, Lisa, is that we provide this live streaming mechanism where parents that are from further away have always been able to watch their kids. If they can't get up to Oswego, we play a lot of games on Tuesday nights in the middle of the week. Because of work, they can get online and watch the team play. So, I think it'll be a challenge like anything, but, I think it's better than not playing any at all.
I mean, Jason, the only time on that Tuesday night in the winter is when Nazareth invades Oswego. I mean, it's wall-to-wall people. Right, Jason?
I know, Joe. I know. So Joe's a Nazareth grad, was a great player in the Hall of Fame of Nazareth. And it's my least favorite game all year because the coach.
Good friends with.
Yeah. Is one of my closest friends in coaching is the Nazareth coach, who was one of my predecessors at SUNY Oswego, actually coached my brother there. And it's a great game for our student athletes, our fans, and both teams are always around that 20-win plateau every year. So that game is not a lot of fun just because Kevin Broderick, the coach at Nazareth, and I are friends. He's a alum of Oswego State. He got his master's there, I should say, and he's still a very good friend of the program. So it's not a lot of fun competing against your friend, but it is a good game for
fun.
Rochester and Central New York communities.
Right, Jason. Oh, go ahead, Gomez.
I was just wondering on the team, Jason, where do most of your players come from? I know it's different, obviously, Division 1, 2, and 3. At the D3 level, for you guys, where, generally speaking, where's the furthest away that one of your players is from?
Well, we have actually right now, Gomez, it's funny you asked that. We have a player on our roster from North Carolina. His mother lives there, but the reason we attracted him to Oswego State is because his father actually lives in this area in Chittenango. He reached out to us and he transferred from a Division II college, and we ended up getting him to join us in our program last year. But we have, generally speaking, he's kind of an outlier in terms of recruiting out of state. Being a public school, just in terms of cost, because we don't have full scholarships at the Division III level. Most of our players come from New York State, probably 99% of them. So, but we attract. I've had some great players from Central New York. As a matter of fact, 2 of our 4 kids that we're bringing into this recruiting class are from Syracuse. One from Corcoran and another one from Syracuse Academy of Science, both really good players. And we've had some other great players from Central New York. Rochester has been a very fertile area for us in recruiting because Oswego sits kind of directly between Syracuse and Rochester. So those 2 areas primarily, but we've had great players from Buffalo, obviously New York City being as populated as it is, and great mecca for high school basketball. We've had some success down in that area in Long Island. Actually, Staten Island in particular, I've 4 players from one high school program down there, St. Peter's Boys High School, that have all been all conference players for us. So that's been a really good area for us as well.
Jason, speaking of recruiting, how has recruiting changed? You know, a lot of you coaches have followed AAU this summer and probably right up through August. Obviously, that hasn't happened. So is it back to the phone call and the old school recruiting, or what changed this year for coaches, at least at your level?
Well, you know, it was business as usual until the pandemic. And then after that, you know, as you mentioned, you're doing a lot of things through word of mouth. As I mentioned to Lisa about live streaming of games, you're trying to, you know, get as much video as you can of potential recruits. And the one nice thing that's been an advantage for our program, Joe, I will brag a little bit. We've had the winningest program in New York State at our level over the last decade. And so, you know, when high school coaches have a good player that may fall a little bit under the radar, or we've made a lot of headway with the transfers, that's become a big part of recruiting nowadays. So a lot of Division II kids, low Division I kids might call us up because maybe they're not playing or they just want a different fit. That happens mostly over the phone anyways, even before the pandemic. So in answer to your question, we've had to be very resourceful, I'll put it, in our recruiting methods. You know, and that's kind of how we've done it. You know, it's certainly not the easier way, but the one thing I've learned over 23 years of coaching is recruiting is never easy, whether you're watching a kid in person or viewing him on tape or talking to somebody on the phone. It's not an exact science.
We've talked to coaches, Jason, over the years about the era where you can go on YouTube and watch anybody compared to 20 years ago or longer. And from what I can tell, the coaches are kind of mixed on it, because on YouTube, you can make anybody look good. You know, if with a good editor and a good whatever, everybody can look like a superstar. So it's not, in one way, you'd think it'd be easier to see a kid that you wouldn't normally have been able to see. But on the other side, you're watching like a best of. It's not really an accurate representation of the kid.
Yeah, there's no question about that, Gomez. It's a great point. You know, video can be good and bad. You know, the good part is the access we have to see as many players as possible. What the bad part is you open yourself up to making some mistakes with your evaluations. So, you know, pre-pandemic, we've never exclusively recruited off of video. That might be the initial way we see somebody, and then we get in the car or sometimes on a plane, go see the player in person. One of the things that has been, you know, listen, every coach, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but for me, I've enjoyed spending a lot of time with the families, you know, driving down, doing an in-home visit where you watch players and their parents interact. You get a chance to see what they're really like in their home environment. And, you know, not that everybody is exactly the same at home as they are within athletics, but it's a good way to find out about people. You know, and some kids that I've coached have not come from the strongest family structures. And, you know, that's noteworthy for me too, because sometimes with those student athletes, I've, you know, got to spend, I take on a role as sort of a father figure with those kids, which I really enjoy. It's one of my favorite parts of coaching is, you know, the way that I can impact young people. You know, it's certainly not for the money. So I really do enjoy just the impact that I'm able to have on all the people that I've come across. And as I get into my mid 40s now, I've been doing this over 20 years. That really gives you the proper perspective, I think, on education and coaching in general.
Jason, do your students call you at Christmas and send you, or your athletes, they send you, Christmas cards and want to call you up and just say hi and keep the
Yeah.
relationship going, as you would with a child as they grow?
Yeah, absolutely. Except for the ones that maybe are angry about their playing time or minutes or shots. Maybe I don't get a Christmas card, but no, they all do. Even one of the things I do think my staff, not just me, but I have a wonderful staff of assistant coaches. And one of the things I think the longer I do this, Lisa, the more it's about managing people and the less it is about, the tactical side of the game. I mean, obviously you've got to be proficient in that area, but honestly, not just in coaching, but in any business, I think all of us can probably attest to how important it is to be a good communicator and very good at managing people. It's when you spend, for our season, 19, 20, 21 weeks sometimes, depending on how far we make it in the NCAA tournament with a group of guys, it's almost like, you come home and I listen to my two little girls fight every once in a while. It doesn't mean they don't love each other, but you spend a lot of time with people. You've got to be able to manage those tough times. And yeah, so hearing from them over Christmas, getting invited to their weddings when they become adults, things like that. It certainly is one of the things in coaching that make it all worthwhile.
Yeah, that's great. With communication, have you Zoomed the team? I mean, knowing you've probably, how have you stayed in touch these last 4 months?
Yeah, Joe, that's awesome question. We had to be very creative. So I sat down with my assistant coaches and said, okay, how are we going to keep these guys on track? So we all, probably like you guys, you listen to, Anthony Fauci and all the people on TV every day talk about, okay, social distancing, washing your hands, wearing the masks, all that stuff, which is incredibly important. But I think sometimes what can get overlooked is how important your mental health is and how important your physical health is. That's just as important in not contracting this virus. And one of the things that we wanted to do was have these Zoom meetings. We did them bi-weekly. I didn't want to bombard our guys, but have them bi-weekly. I thought two reasons. One, we needed to get some of our guys, to be honest with you, proficient with using technology and being the things on time within, doing Zoom. Zoom was new to our team, I didn't know a lot of people doing Zoom meetings before the pandemic. So that was good. But the second thing was to stay in touch, to stay connected, and to really motivate our players to stay in shape, both mentally and physically during this thing. And when this hit in the Northeast, I mean, it was still snowing and cold and, we couldn't go outside. And I think, it's a very easy time to let yourself go a little bit. So we use the Zoom meetings for a connective piece, but then also to encourage our guys to do some things. And a quick story, I had a couple of my seniors to be now, they would organize some Zoom calls on their own after the first couple ones we did with the team. And they would kind of do these Zoom workouts together where they do body weight stuff and things like that, just to try to, as best they could, stay in shape in preparation for the upcoming season, which I was really proud of as a coach. Anytime kids take the initiative to do things and take ownership of their success, that's really a proud moment for a coach.
Hey, Jason, when are your guys allowed to be on campus? And I know it's different, state school versus private school, but is it a statewide SUNYAC thing, or at Oswego can you decide, hey, on August 1st, or are they on campus already?
So they're not on campus already. There might be, actually, Gomez, there might be some international students that weren't able to return home that might be there. But okay, so first part of your question, is it a SUNYAC thing? I think most of us are doing the same thing, but I'm not sure if it's exactly the same. But I know at Oswego, our president, Deborah Stanley, who's a wonderful woman, has done so much for our college, has been there for a long time now. And anyway, she put forward this plan that we label, that she titled Oswego Forward. And it was a 67-page document that I read through. It was incredibly comprehensive, well thought out. And the students that are coming from these states that are banned travel states will have to come in 14 days before classes begin. So my young man that I mentioned before from North Carolina, he'll have to come into town on August 9th, quarantine for 14 days before we start classes on the 24th of August. The freshmen and new transfers will come in for orientation on the 15th. There's obviously a lot of paperwork and screenings that need to be done. To give you an idea of how comprehensive this program is, we have things set up like social pods, athletic pods, dining hall assignments, just to try to, as best we can, alleviate any potential outbreak of this virus on campus so these kids can get in-person instruction. I've been incredibly impressed and just proud of the job that our community has done in Oswego. And Deborah Stanley she's just done a phenomenal job just getting this campus ready to get to going in the fall. So I'm really excited about it.
Well, best of luck, Jason.
Definitely a new era.
Yeah,
New era.
great talking to you.
No question about it. Hey, listen, on a side note, I really appreciate this. Joe's been a good friend of mine for a while, and this is great exposure for our program and what we're doing. Sometimes in Division III athletics, we don't necessarily get the same type of notoriety, that the big boys get. And this is wonderful that you guys had a chance to have me on today. I'm very appreciative. And Gomez and Lisa, as I mentioned, I've been listening to your show for many, many years, and to be on here is truly an honor.
Now, Gomez and Lisa, before we close, Jason, maybe you don't know, Leone family, legendary CBA family, Gomez. Jason played there, went to, was it Scranton, Jason?
No, I went to Lafayette College.
Lafayette, 2 years, and then University of Rochester. So played hoops. So big CBA family that I know you guys know a lot of folks over there.
Sure. In Lafayette, I think Beth Mowens from
Yes.
ESPN was
Beth Mowens.
Oh, yeah?
I think she for a while held the school record for like 3-point shooting or something like that.
So when I was growing up, my grandfather, who was a member of the Syracuse Police Department, he and Beth's father used to drive down. She was from CNS. They used to drive. So my uncle John was the coach at Lafayette for 8 seasons, and they would get in the car in Syracuse, Beth's dad and my grandfather, and go down and watch Lafayette games down in Easton, PA. It's about a 2-hour and 45-minute drive from Syracuse. So a lot of good memories there.
So that was your connection why you wanted to get there, I bet. Good job. The other reason for his...
That was my connection. I certainly wasn't good enough. So
yeah, stop. And the other reason for bi-weekly Zooms, Gomez and Lisa, his passion for golf. This guy... probably golfs more than me, Gomez.
Wow.
Not possible, Joe.
Not possible. Not possible.
Yeah, we had fun.
Was he head coach?
Yeah.
He's a coach. He's out in the community, shaking hands. Well, not shaking hands.
Not anymore. Not for the time being.
Yeah.
But thank you, Jason. This was a pleasure, and you're doing a great job, and we wish you much success in 2020-21.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. You guys too, and thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
All right. Best
Thanks,
wishes.
Jason.
Have a great season, Jason.
Okay. Thanks, Gomez and Lisa. Bye-bye.